The doctors broke the devastating news to Vince Gill. He was informed he required immediate surgery when a previously unknown cardiac condition was discovered. Amy Grant, his wife, came dangerously close to death in a bicycle accident. The 22 Grammy-winning country music artist is now confronting an unexpected challenge. His little girl just won't quit sobbing. His devoted followers are offering prayers. Even more tragic is the fact that the songwriter of country music's most melancholy tunes is going through his own personal tragedy. Norman, Oklahoma is the site of Vince Gill's birth on April 12, 1957. J. Stanley Gill was a judge and lawyer, his father. However, his passion for music was profound when he was not at work. When people got together, he would play guitar and banjo. Jareen, Vince's mom, was also quite talented musically. She brought music into their home with her singing and harmonica playing. The Big Ol' Opry and rock and roll albums were common radio stations for the household. Vince took it all in, as music was there at all times. Vince was taught the fundamentals of guitar chords by his father, who encouraged him to pursue music seriously. Vince got his first professional guitar, a Gibson ES-335, when he was 10 years old. It was a watershed moment. No longer was he a carefree youth tinkering with music. Real skill development was within his reach. Despite his father's stringent regulations, he had his support. Keeping his grades up was essential for Vince if he wanted to perform in local pubs throughout his high school years. Because of the balance between criticism and praise, he developed a strong work ethic. Vince began his public acting career at the tender age of 7. At the 1964 inauguration of War Acres City Hall, he performed one of his earliest gigs. However, he was not limited to playing only one instrument. It was his desire to know everything. This mandolinist also became an expert on the fiddle, banjo, dobro, and bass guitar. In elementary school, he studied the violin and piano, but he hated practicing. Listening to records was his favorite method of self-education. His musical approach was shaped by a combination of folk, bluegrass, rock, and jazz. He had already mastered more than any classroom could have taught him by the time he was a junior in high school. Vince had exceptional talent at a young age, as acknowledged by his guitar teacher. When Vince was a teenager living in Oklahoma City, he became a member of the bluegrass group Mountain Smoke. The band gained a lot of fans and went on to open for major groups such as Kiss and Pure Prairie League. Witnessing Kiss perform live in Oklahoma City in 1974 was an event I will never forget. Bluegrass failed to catch the interest of the crowd. Loud, hard rock was their thing. The audience booed as soon as Mountain Smoke began to play. Instead of apologizing, Vince stormed off stage while mooning them. His wit and resilience were on display in that moment. An angry audience had no effect on him. The members of Mountain Smoke weren't simply teenagers. Live performance was something Vince had never done before. He gained experience playing in a group and mastered the art of blending instruments. Collaborative effort was important to bluegrass music. There was an opportunity for everyone to shine, but the group also needed to be there for each other. He never forgot those teachings. Vince knew he desired more after he graduated from high school in 1975. In 1893, he uprooted his life and headed for Louisville, Kentucky, from Oklahoma. He became a member of Bluegrass Alliance, a group that was renowned for innovative bluegrass music. He was able to hone his craft and reach a wider audience while touring with them. However, he departed quickly. In 1976, he became a member of Boone Creek, with Ricky Skaggs at the helm. Jerry Douglas on dobro was one of the gifted players in this band. Despite Vince's brief stint in Boone Creek, he formed a bond with Skaggs that would last a lifetime. Several times over their careers, they would work together. In the same year, at the age of 19, Vince also made a major change. Byron Berlin's band Sundance, in which he played session guitar and harmony vocals, recruited him after he moved to Los Angeles. It was a significant milestone in his journey towards a career in professional music. It was a significant leap from bluegrass in a little community to the big scene in Los Angeles, but Vince adjusted fast. Vince Gill changed everything in 1979 when he came into an audition. Following Larry Goshorn's departure, Pure Prairie League were in search of a replacement lead singer. Gill proceeded to play guitar non-stop for 4 hours. astounding all those present. He went from being simply another musician auditioning by the session's conclusion. He had become their new leader. With the publication of Let Me Love You Tonight by the band in 1980, he had his first major break. His silky voice and David Sanborn's saxophone solo were the highlight of the tune. It reached number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100 and topped the adult contemporary chart for 3 weeks. Gill became famous after such type of achievement. His vocals breathed new life into the band's music, and fans took note. In 1979, he released Can't Hold Back, in 1980, Firin' Up, and in 1981, Something in the Night were the albums he made with Pure Prairie League. Not only could he sing, but he could also create music. Music such as Still Right and I'm Almost Ready. His skill at fusing country rock with pop elements was on full display here in My Heart. Despite his overwhelming success, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. Gill was quite active in the bluegrass scene before he joined Pure Prairie League. Along with Ricky Skaggs, he was a member of Mountain Smoke and Boone Creek. Changing genres from bluegrass to country rock was rather drastic. However, he adjusted rapidly. Still, he began to consider a return to a more conventional country sound as the years went by. He crossed paths with sweethearts of the rodeo member Janice Oliver on a band tour. They tied the knot on April 12, 1980, after falling madly in love. Jenny Gill was born to them in 1982. They had met via music, and for a time, it appeared like their professional and private lives were in perfect harmony. Gill realized he needed to move on by 1982. He was in search of a fresh direction when Pure Prairie League's subsequent albums failed to meet expectations. In the same year, he became a member of the Cherry Bombs, who were Rodney Crowell's supporting band. One of the best choices he ever made for his career was this one. While he was a member of the Cherry Bombs, he played with artists like Tony Brown and Emery Gordy Jr., who would go on to be important allies in his solo work. When Vince Gill joined with MCA Records in 1989, his career took a dramatic swing. His game-changing record, When I Call Your Name, came out the same year. Tony Brown brought his velvety tenor voice and honest songwriting to a larger audience with this album, which he produced at Emerald Studios in Nashville. His appreciation of classic country music was evident in his duets with Emmylou Harris and Patty Loveless. When it came out in 1990, the title tune was a watershed moment in the artist's career. The protagonist, a broken-hearted guy, returns home to find his house deserted. An remarkable tune, more poignant by the anguish in Gill's voice. It was already a powerful song before Patty Loveless contributed harmony vocals. In 1990, it was named CMA Single of the Year, and in 1991, it was named Song of the Year. And for Best Male Country Vocal Performance, it was Gill's first Grammy. The success of the album extended beyond the single track. Never Alone, Oklahoma Swing, a Reba McEntire duet, Never Knew Lonely, and When I Call Your Name were the 4 top songs that came out of it. By 1990, the record had achieved gold certification. It reached the platinum mark in 1991. It achieved double platinum certification in 1996 with sales of over 2 million copies. After this album's popularity, Gill was inducted into the Grand Ole Opry in 1991, solidifying his status as a prominent figure in country music. His prime was in the 1990s. He sold more than 4 million copies of his smash 1992 album, I Still Believe in You. He won 2 Grammys, Best Country Song and Best Male Country Vocal Performance, for the title single, which became his first #1 smash on the Billboard Hot Country Songs list. I also really liked Don't Let Our Love Start Slippin' Away, another great track on the CD. It peaked at #1 on December 26, 1992, after being released as the second single. Lyrically, Gill's battle to keep love alive was represented in the song he penned at a tough period in his marriage to Janice Oliver. Reba McEntire, Patty Loveless, and Pam Tillis were among the many well-known faces featured in the music video. Gill has a unique talent for blending powerful, passionate ballads with lively, vibrant music. His admirers appreciated the carefree spirit of One More Chance, while I Still Believe in You showed his gentler side. His 1991 record, Pocket Full of Gold, was only one of several that contributed to his fame. His talent to compose emotionally engaging music was demonstrated by songs such as Liza Jane and Look at Us Further. The accolades began to pile up, and it wasn't only because of his popular tunes. With 1992's Look at Us and 1996's Go Rest High on That Mountain, he earned 4 Grammys for Best Country Song. He broke a record at the CMAs by becoming the artist with 4 consecutive Song of the Year victories. The music of Gill was an exquisite synthesis of neo-traditional country and moving ballads. Neither fads nor attempts to conform to the pop country mold were ever his style. Integrating contemporary narrative with his bluegrass origins, his music stayed true to itself. He was a member of the neo-traditional country scene that also included Patti Lovelace and Randy Travis. His extensive knowledge of the genre was demonstrated by albums such as High Lonesome Sound, 1996, and Pocket Full of Gold, 1991. His bluegrass influences were on full display in songs like Liza Jane, and the poignant feelings of love and sorrow were conveyed in Look at Us. Themes of loss, hope, and heartache were prevalent in his ballads. Critics lauded Gill for being faithful to his origins while yet developing as an artist, which made his songs enduring. The heavenly purity of his voice made even the most basic tunes stand out. Fans and professional artists alike respected his unwavering commitment to his sound. The difficulties of juggling stardom and family life, as well as love and heartache, have molded Vince Gill's life. Janice Oliver, a gifted musician and half of the country duo Sweethearts of the Rodeo, was his wife in 1980. Their chemistry appeared to be just right. Jennifer Jareen Gill was born to the couple on May 5, 1982, and they had a life together centered around their mutual love of music. They gave the impression that their marriage was solid for a long time, but Vince's burgeoning profession eventually strained their bond. Time apart, brought on by lengthy tours and absences, became more difficult to disregard. Rumors of adultery and emotional problems began to circulate in the mid-1990s. It was widely thought that Vince had formed a strong bond with Christian musician Amy Grant. These rumors exacerbated the strain on a marriage that was already struggling. Vince and Janice got a divorce in 1997 after being together for 17 years. Their breakup was more than simply an individual issue, it sparked intense discussion within the close-knit music community in Nashville. As a result of his meteoric rise to fame, Vince's private life was suddenly a hot topic. He came to confess later on that keeping a low profile while enjoying the limelight was a major challenge. He and Janice were respectful to one another despite their problems. His years spent with her were undeniably formative, and he never tried to downplay their significance. For a long time, his music had already been impacted by the heavy emotions of his life. While Vince's professional life was thriving in the 80s and 90s, his personal life was in shambles. He avoided spending time with his family due to the pressure to achieve, and he felt guilty about it no matter where he went. It made an appearance in his songs, particularly 1989's When I Call Your Name. His personal life at the time was reflected in the song, which beautifully conveyed the anguish of regret and isolation. His supporters were profoundly moved by the unfiltered sincerity in his speech, resulting in his being named 1990 Country Music Association Song and Single of the Year. Achieving success did not simplify matters. Friends saw a shift in Vince. Instead of expressing himself verbally, he grew more reserved and turned to music. Reflecting his own struggle, his 1994 novel Which Bridge to Burn dealt with issues of regret and uncertainty. His performances weren't only musical numbers. They were statements of fact. And then, in 1997, when he was settling back into life following his divorce, he suffered yet another tragic loss. Stan Gill, who was 65 years old when he died, was his father. Stan was more than just a dad. Dad supported Vince's musical abilities and gave him his first guitar. Dad was Vince's first musical influence. They were quite close. Unspoken comments and unsolved conflicts abound in father-son relationships. A huge burden of sadness rested on Vince's heart when Stan passed away. His music took on a different form after that defeat. A song he wrote and recorded in 1998 called The Key to Life was dedicated to his dad. There was a key time. With Stan by his side, the banjo player learned traditional tunes like John Henry, and the lyrics, particularly one line, conveyed the profound anguish of losing a father. His departure was like a Randall knife slashing through my flesh. Vince clearly had unprocessed feelings that he was still trying to sort through. Rest High on That Mountain, nevertheless, was the song that would come to symbolize his loss. Years before, in 1989, with the passing of country artist Keith Whitley, he had begun penning it. Still, he left it unfinished. His father's death prompted him to speak. And hymn for the bereaved, the homage reached well beyond the country music community. Love, grief, and transition were all parts of Vince Gill's life that he used to create authentic music. He transcended his status as a mere country music celebrity with his songs that explored themes of loss, shame, and perseverance. For everyone who had ever experienced the pain of loss, he became an anthem. Because of its sincerity, his music has stood the test of time. The romance between Vince Gill and Amy Grant started in the early 90s. Their friendship blossomed when they first connected through music. In December 1993, they shared the stage for the first time in Tulsa, Oklahoma, over Christmas with Vince Gill. Back then, Amy's husband was Gary Chapman, and Vince's wife was Janice Oliver. However, that evening had an air of novelty about it. After the fact, Amy said that she had embraced Vince and proclaimed, "I've needed to do this all night," during one of their performances. Their connection was unlike anything she had ever experienced. She just couldn't put her finger on it. The more they worked together, the closer they became as friends. They taped the album's title tune in 1994 for Amy's House of Love. Amy experienced a strong emotion while filming the video. She subsequently remarked that she had never felt anything like the time she clutched onto Vince as he sang. They became closer, yet they never wavered from their vows. Their relationship wasn't intentional, Vince claimed afterwards. It was fate that brought them together. The fact that Vince had a crush on Amy before they even met only adds to the incredible tale they have. He was forced to stop his automobile in 1983 when he heard the song "Tennessee Christmas" on the radio. Some quality in her speech captivated him, and he couldn't put his finger on what it was. Years later, she would play a significant role in his life, something he never anticipated. Their love story could not begin, however, until they both endured devastating divorces. Vince and Janice Oliver's 17-year marriage came to an end in 1997. Amy's marriage to Gary Chapman came to an end in 1999, following nearly 20 years of marriage. Divorces weren't only private problems for them. All eyes were on them as they unfolded. Their admirers thought their marriages had crumbled because of their relationship. Rapidly spreading rumors of infidelity were refuted by both parties. According to what Vince claimed, even though they were head over heels for each other, they were perfectly content to stay inside their marital boundaries. Additionally, Amy clarified that their public acquaintance was unrelated to the dissolution of her previous marriage. The change wasn't easy, but their love was genuine. Concerned about his teenage daughter Jenny's ability to adapt to the changes, Vince felt a pang of worry. Amy felt that the Christian community's perception of her divorce was problematic. However, they relied on one another throughout. They began dating openly in 1999. When asked about the comfort she felt when the most beautiful reality of their connection was finally allowed to blossom, Amy replied it was after years of doubt. They had a small outdoor ceremony on March 10, 2000, to tie the knot. They were surrounded by loved ones, yet integrating their families was a major obstacle. From her former marriage, Amy had 3 children: Matt, who was 12 years old, Millie, who was 10 years old, and Sarah, who was 7 years old. The adolescent Jenny was Vince's. It was challenging for the children to adapt. Amy made a subsequent joke about how their children wouldn't be overjoyed to witness such a change in family dynamics in their wedding photographs. When Amy and Vince had their daughter Karina in 2001, everything changed. In doing so, she became the unifying force that everyone needed. They were able to build a solid and happy mixed family through time and love. Amy mentioned afterwards that their home now has a cozy and inviting vibe, which before seemed unattainable. Vince Gill had to take a break from music in late 2018 due to a major health problem. The beginning was the ailment known as kidney stones, which may provide excruciating discomfort. A serious renal infection, however, made matters worse. His attendance at the 52nd Annual CMA Awards was among the several concerts he had to cancel. To avoid permanent harm, the infection required rapid medical treatment. It was not an easy choice for someone as committed to his trade as Gill to move away from the stage. His legions of devoted fans could sense the gravity of the situation. Gill returned in the beginning of 2019. He got well fast. However, it served as a sobering reminder of how erratic health is. It was another proof of his resiliency. He continued to do what brought him joy despite the immense suffering he endured. Unfortunately, this was just the start of his many health problems in the years to come. Gill was found to have a congenital cardiac abnormality in 2020 by physicians. It was something he'd been oblivious to for a long time. Surgery became essential to avoid major consequences after routine tests with his cardiologist confirmed the diagnosis. It takes weeks to recuperate after open heart surgery, a significant operation. The timing just added to Gill's difficulty. The COVID-19 epidemic was sweeping the globe. Feeling even more alone throughout rehabilitation, hospital visits were severely limited. While he was dealing with his health issues, his wife Amy Grant was also struggling. Her uncommon disease, partial anomalous pulmonary venous return, necessitated open heart surgery in June 2020. It alters the cardiac pulmonary blood flow and, if left untreated, can lead to serious consequences. It was incredibly taxing on Gill and Grant's mental and physical health to have heart surgeries in the same year. Their unwavering will to overcome this obstacle drove them to rely on one another. Grant had yet another defeat in 2022. Tragically, she was injured in a bike accident at Nashville's Harpeth Hills golf course. Before medical assistance came, she lay unconscious for 10 minutes. She was extremely exhausted and suffered from memory loss after the accident. Slowly but surely, she began to feel better, and then another obstacle arose. A cyst in her throat was discovered by the doctors, and it was impairing her voice. She had it surgically removed from her neck in early 2023. Gill stood at her side the whole time. Physical assistance wasn't all he was providing. She found solace in him. Whenever Grant had doubts about her ability to recuperate, he would tell her to just take it day by day. She was comforted by his words. That they would remain together in the face of any change. These challenges were never concealed from Gill. He was honest about the difficulties they had, giving his audience a glimpse inside their journey. While Grant was getting better, he told her stories about how strong she was and how they got through tough times. He brought his daughter Karina on stage for a moving rendition of When My Amy Prays, a Grammy-winning homage he had composed to Grant. That was a powerful moment. Music wasn't the only thing at stake. The story revolved around love, perseverance, and the connection they had formed during the years. One of the most difficult projects in Vince Gill's career was undertaken in 2006. Right now, he has a 4-disc collection out that features 43 of his own compositions. The sound was distinct on each disc, creating a large cool piece that leans toward country rock. The rationale behind it has an emotional aspect. Honest to classic country music, certain things never age. Bluegrass music was little brother's life. Never before had country music attempted such a daring maneuver. He wasn't only demonstrating his range. Great music, he was showing, doesn't have to be neatly classified. Some of the most recognizable faces in the business were involved with the project. Diana Krall, Sheryl Crow, Alison Krauss, and Rodney Crowell all brought their own approaches and voices to the table. The end product was an unusually refreshing CD that sounded new throughout. The debut single for These Days peaked at position 17 on the Billboard 200. It was nominated for Best Country Album at the 2008 Grammys and went platinum. Some praised it highly. According to Pop Matters, it was full-on, deep, entertaining, and satisfying. Notable songs were Krauss's The Reason Why and Crow's What You Give Away. Those two tracks became hits and were crucial to the album's overall success. The initial intention of Gill was not to produce 4 CDs. After deciding he had too many songs in his heart to limit himself to just one album, he began to write more. He looked up to the Beatles, who experimented with different sounds all the time. He didn't remove any tracks but rather added more to the project. His reputation as a risk-taking artist was solidified by that move. It was during these days that country music revealed its potential. Its soul, rock, and bluegrass elements may be seamlessly blended without sacrificing its essence. In Gill's professional life, teamwork has always played an important role. His collaborations with Alison Krauss were notable. Their bluegrass/eerie melody tune High Lonesome Sound won a Grammy. I Can't Let Go and The Reason Why both got Krauss's distinctive harmonies on These Days. The combination of her voice and Gill's was flawless, and the result was a classic. He was accompanied on What You Give Away by Sheryl Crow, an uplifting tune about thankfulness and generosity. Demonstrating her versatility, Crow has also contributed backup vocals on many projects. Longtime friend of Gill's Rodney Crowell joined him on Nothing for a Broken Heart. The song mixed contemporary elements with traditional country storytelling. All of these artists contributed something special. But Gill coordinated their styles and voices so they complemented one another. No one anticipated Gill's 2017 role. The Eagles were in need of a replacement following Glenn Frey's 2016 death. They looked over at Gill. He took the stage as a member of the band on July 15, 2017, at Los Angeles' Dodger Stadium. Performing with Frey's son, Deacon Frey, he showcased the band's greatest hits, including Lion Eyes and Take It Easy. The audience had no idea what to anticipate first. Gill, originally from the country music scene, joined forces with one of the most legendary rock bands of all time. It was obvious, though, that he belonged the second he began singing. Gill had something unique, according to Don Henley's subsequent comments. He was able to contribute to a band without taking center stage. It had taken a long time to hone that ability. Played rhythm guitar in support, allowing Joe Walsh to take center stage. He paid homage to the Eagles' sound while giving it his own unique spin. It was a mixed bag of emotions for Gill. Deep down, he said, he wished he weren't doing it. That would indicate that Glenn is still alive. Despite his grief, he paid tribute to Frey's legacy with each performance. Even though this is their last tour, he is still performing on the Long Goodbye with the Eagles. Gill has never ceased giving back, even though he has attained enormous success. He is a firm believer in supporting up-and-coming musicians and sharing what he has learned. Charlie Worsham and Jed Hughes. He has been an invaluable mentor to two musicians. He teaches them more than simply the game. He teaches them the ropes of the business and how to keep their feet on the ground. There is one constant in his life lessons. Playing a large number of notes isn't what makes music. Creating an emotional response is the main goal. There is no shortage of evidence of Vince Gill's influence on music from his extensive career. He joined other country music greats including Dolly Parton and Johnny Cash in 2007 when he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. His contributions as a guitarist, singer, and composer were honored with this accolade. Hits like When I Call Your Name and Go, Rest High on That Mountain demonstrated his talent for combining melody with passion. The Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame inducted him in 2005 for his exceptional songwriting abilities. People have been moved by his songs for a long time. Our Love Must Not Begin to Fade. His finest works include, among others, High Lonesome Sound. Inspiring Go Rest High on That Mountain was a personal tragedy. In 1995, it was named Best Country Song at the Grammys and CMA Song of the Year. Country music isn't the only genre that Gill has impacted. The Oklahoma Music Hall of Fame inducted him, and in 2012, he was honored with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Notable musicians like Eric Clapton and Barbra Streisand have collaborated with him. He was one of the most adaptable musicians of his day because he could switch between country, bluegrass, and pop. The recognition he has received attests to his enduring success. He has won the CMA Song of the Year award 4 times, which is the record. Nobody other has managed to pull that off. He is one of the most decorated male performers of all time with 22 Grammys to his name. Folk, pop, bluegrass, and country are all represented on his Grammys. The 5 years spanning 1990 to 1997 saw him win for Best Country Vocal Performance, Male. Between 1991 and 2007, he was awarded Best Country Song 4 times for his songwriting. Not once, in 2015, but twice, in 2019, for Best Bluegrass Album. He keeps developing as an artist, collaborating with Paul Franklin on Bakersfield and Maren Morris on Dear Hate. His gifts distinguish him from the rest. Kissed by Angels describes his voice, infusing each song with genuine warmth and authenticity. His melodies are remarkable because of the sheer emotion he sings with. Equally remarkable is his guitar playing. His expressive solos are the result of a fusion of flat playing and fingerstyle. People have said that he sounds like Eric Clapton or Chet Atkins. In country music, he is unique in that he can sing and play lead guitar at the same time. The year 1991 marked his entrance into the Grand Ole Opry. While singing When I Call Your Name that night, he was visibly moved. He still does frequent performances there, unlike many of the other members. Both the tradition and the friendships he has developed at the Opry are important to him. In doing so, he has helped preserve country music's legacy by performing alongside legends like Jimmy Dickens and Roy Acuff.